and we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. And today we're focused on nothing in particular. No, today the subject of our discussion, which is misspelled, database boy. What's Todd say?
I'm going to interrupt this by saying that Gary is available, and he asks if it's too late. No,
send him that link I sent you. Do it right now.
Do it right now. How about you send the link?
Do it, number one. Hold on, let me try it.
You send the link. You're the boss here.
All right, then you got to do the introduction that I was trying to do. And
what were you trying to do?
I was trying to tell the audience what our topic is today.
And we're live.
And we are live, it's true.
That's it. Our topic is the meaning of synthetic life. It popped up on the screen.
See, you have AI helping you. That's the Starfleet Boy AI that's helping you.
That's amazing.
Gary, the link is on
it. What's the topic?
The link is on its way.
Gary, the link is on its way. What is the meaning of synthetic life? What is synthetic life? I'm assuming you mean both in the future, so in Star Trek, and today. Is there synthetic life?
Today's going to be an interesting... Yeah, I definitely want to talk about both those things because today, synthetic life is not a reality at all. There's no such thing in our world as synthetic life. So, but in the future, I do believe it will occur. And I think by talking about how it's done in Star Trek, we might have clues as to how it'll happen in real life.
My love for you has taken a life of its own, and it was fabricated. It was created by me. Does that count as synthetic life?
That's synthetic love, perhaps.
Synthetic love. No, it was organic. It's natural.
Where do you stand? Do you think that you're partially synthetic if you have a let's say I lose my hand like Luke Skywalker, and I'm just pride everyone. All right, let's say that I lose my hand like Luke Skywalker and it's replaced with a synthetic hand. Now, am I partially a synthetic life form? How much life is needed? Biological life is needed for me.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing about a ship, isn't it? They have that example with a ship, right?
Hi.
He has.
Sorry, you're
not even with our heads. Oh, there you go.
Hang on, I have
Even
to
up.
push myself. There you go.
Sean is the tallest, so he's in. I don't know. I think you guys are equally tall.
Oh, should I do this and then I can be in lowering rank? There you go. I'm the third.
That's unacceptable. It throws off my visual. The Starfleet Boy needs visual harmony.
The admiral will swear at you.
I'm dressed in my full retired admiral outfit today. So we were just talking about what does it mean? What is synthetic life? Like, what's the meaning of synthetic life? And I think this is something I've been thinking a lot about because the greatest hero of my whole entire life is now a synthetic life form. And I'm really curious if they're going to explore this. I hope they do in season 2 of Picard. But also, it's making me wonder, well, what are the implications for humans? Like, could synthetic life... There's so many questions. Just
what I was gonna state is that strange example where people they talk about a ship like an old timey an old sailing ship or whatever. Like if you replace 3 or 4 planks from the hull of the ship, then it's still the same ship. But if you do that, and then eventually you've come to a point where you've replaced all of the planks of the ship or every component, is it still the same ship or is it a new ship?
That's very interesting. Well, as long as you've captured the soul of the ship,
I guess the essence of it.
The essence of it. So it's important.
Picard being the ship here, right?
But that's a good analogy. You can translate it to the Enterprise because it's gone through a refit. It was the same ship, but it's not
so many times.
Yeah,
it's gone through a lot of refits apparently. I thought it was only 1 refit, but it's like 5 refits that it's gone through.
Every era of Star Trek and every showrunner will bring a new refit.
Here's another
That's
Enterprise.
It's like tradition. You have to bring a new refit to both the Klingons and the Enterprise,
and for the Tholians too.
but
we already have a question, by the way, from the live comments.
We do?
Yes. Myth
How
Dusters.
come I don't?
How you
How
doing?
come-
He
oh,
says,
we do
who
have
thinks the EMH will appear in Picard season 2? I do.
Oh, this is a good time to plug Warm Blanket, because the EMH was on Warm Blanket.
Really?
The
One
podcast.
EMH. One of the EMHs. Come on.
No, Dr. Zimmerman himself, Robert
That's
Picardo. Is that who you mean, Chris?
I love
Dr.
I
Zimmerman?
love how in tradition of synthetic life forms, the way Brent Spiner plays all of the Sung relatives as well as the androids. Robert
that's true.
Picardo does the same thing for the EMH, right? He plays the creator. That's
He
fun.
does.
I would like to see him in Picard as like the long lost son of
Do you guys think of?
Zimmerman that reunites with the long lost son of Sung, right?
Oh my gosh, that would be fun. Do you guys? That's really, really deep. We lost all our audience, by the way, which was Gary and probably Chris Collins, because you said that. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
we have another. Oh, they're coming and going. I appreciate this. It's fun.
Where do you see this? Where do you see the numbers?
I have a special view.
Oh, we don't have access to this.
It shows me
You're special.
how many people are watching. Yeah,
We're just peasants here.
When you did your live broadcast recently, didn't you see, Sean, that it had?
Oh, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it fancy like you. I went straight onto YouTube, and YouTube gives me statistics as we go along, right?
Speaking of which, while we're waiting for an audience member to come back, please come, audience, please. I wanted to compliment YouTube because I had my very first ever blocked video for an infringement upon intellectual property laws, I guess, in the world, because it was blocked in the in the whole world. So like, and I was so worried because I thought, well, how will I know what? It's like a 3-hour video. How will I know what to edit out or how to fix it? So I wrote to CBS on Twitter thinking, oh, maybe they respond to these things. And they didn't respond, which is fine. They're very busy, I'm sure, and it's the weekend. Hopefully the person who looks at CBS's Twitter is on holiday. But when I logged into YouTube, there was a really cool tool that popped up, and it said, "Hi, one of your videos has a." It was very friendly too. It was, speaking of artificial intelligence, and it was friendly, and it made me feel calm. Like, oh yeah, my channel's in good standing. That was the biggest thing I was worried about. There's nothing I need to do, but if I want to, I could trim this video, and it could be safe to put back on. And I was like, yes, trim the video. Do it. Do the trim. Let's go.
To YouTube. And okay, I've legitimately noticed a change in the way YouTube itself, like the AI of YouTube, interacts with us. Because when they announced the whole, I think it's COPA, whatever it is, the thing that the agreement with the kids, and the
treaty with there was like a table with
monetization
kids on the other end, and we're like, we need to come to an agreement with you.
Issues with the kids, right? It was all very scary to every content creator because we didn't know how to.
Yeah, it was how to react to it.
Now I realized. Now I noticed that every time I want to go to monetize a video, you got all those things to click. Is there profanity? Is there nudity? That kind of stuff. And YouTube was very kind in telling me that, look, we've manually checked the recent videos that you've kind of selected the options yourself, and we've noticed that it's consistent. And so now you have basically we trust you, and we thank you for doing a good job. And so they're going to be kinder in case of accidents and situations, because they have a better relationship with me, and with they have a stronger trust.
That's
amazing. I think that's cool. It's nice.
Yeah.
YouTube isn't generally kind like
this. Hey everyone, Trek on the Tube has good judgment and is trustworthy.
There you go.
That's speaking of good judgment and trustworthy. That's good because you are a father, and in the United States tomorrow is Father's Day. So happy Father's Day from the United States.
Father's Day.
I am not a merry father. Anyways, there's
Joyous Father's Day.
joyous Father's Day to you and to your child, baby on the tube.
Well, she's not a father. It's not her day. It's mine.
What
You know
is it?
what happens?
Is it Father's Day in Canada or in France? Is it?
No, it's
Father's
Father's
all
Day
over the-
tomorrow. We had a big day at work, pastry
Oh, okay.
chef, doing a lot of cakes, that kind of stuff today, because I don't know, like social distancing is over, so everyone's meeting everyone.
Wait, social? What do you mean? Okay, we
Social
can't go off
distancing
topic.
is not.
We
It's not
can't.
over.
It's not.
Yeah, I was
It's not
gonna say,
officially over.
we can't go off topic here, but I just was really concerned when you said that because
It's
people
not
listen
over.
to the show, and I don't want them to understand. I don't want them to get the wrong
Let's
idea.
clarify. Let's clarify.
Yes.
Social distancing is not over. Quarantine is
Thank
not
you.
over. People,
Okay, thank
please social distance as much as you can. It's just that it would seem that at least the customers where I work, they don't care. They're being very irresponsible and purchasing cakes that are big in size. Like they're like, oh, we want like a 15-person cake, right? Okay. So you guys are clearly not.
I get it.
Unless
Yeah.
maybe they are. Maybe they're all in those big, bubbles that you roll down a hill. Like
It's also possible that one thing that I've noticed that I'm too concerned with my situation to feel comfortable being in this effectively. But if you can isolate for, I think it's a number of days, like 15 to 20 days, and then if you meet someone else who has and you trust has also been isolating for that period of time, theoretically you don't have to social distance or anything like that in that situation. Theoretically, I'm not trying to like justify it, but you know what I mean.
It means that you haven't met anyone else. Like you haven't
Right.
been in contact with anyone else in that period of time. But
Right.
Gary's just puzzled here. He lives in
I mean,
Scotland. No one lives there, so he's fine.
I'm just kind of wondering if the meaning for this podcast was coming from the quality of life or it's coming from Picard in general.
Both. That's a good question. So Gary's very politely getting us back on track here. Thank you, Gary. No, it actually came from both of those things because
also we could think about author from Voyager. Not sure if you're that far yet,
no,
but
not that far.
Sean know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think that it is a quality of life comes up, very much with synthetic. I don't know. It's true. Stop embarrassing me. For synthetic
shame.
life.
Oh, you haven't seen Game of Thrones with the bell and everything.
I see.
Good grief.
Because synthetic life on it as it is. I think if you really want to go back to the roots, probably happened with Nomad or with the M5. Not Nomad, I would say Nomad, but no, it's not synthetic because it's just a robot. But basically coming from that intelligent life form situation. And evolving.
I wrote down Rock. What episode was that?
Rock.
You remember Rock on the original series?
Rook.
Oh, Rook. It's Rook.
I think it's Rook, not Rock. Rock was in Voyager. Tsunkatsi.
That's true.
Don't mix them.
Who are all the famous synths on Star Trek? There's Rook from the original series, like synths that look like Android, like
Mud's woman.
Were they?
Well, they were android kind of synthetic.
Were they robots or androids or synthetic? I don't know. I feel like they were like kind of programmed and didn't have a life.
Okay, what do we define as synthetic though? Is it something constructed?
Right.
Something that's
correct.
non-biological, right?
Correct.
But then that's a very narrow way of seeing things. This is a very
synthetic
humanoid.
life.
Life. But, I mean, they could be literally a race of or a species. Like a technological species somewhere that kind of with the power of nanobots or something construct their young, but they don't construct it the way we do. They kind of like separate into offspring or something like that.
So could the Borg count as synthetic life form?
They're biosynthetic for sure.
Biosynthetic.
I would say biosynthetic because they do have biological components, but if they were fully mechanical, I would call them synthetic life forms then, for sure.
But
So far,
so
far the only
between a
examples
robot and an artificial intelligence and a synthetic life form.
according to Star Trek, so far the only synthetic life forms that we've seen are Data and his children, right? Like everything else has been an android, not a life form, or a robot or something else. So Data would be, I think, the very first synthetic life form, or actually
I think there's like a distinction between artificial intelligence and synthetic life form somehow. Like in some way, Star Trek Picard classified Data and Sergeant Dojo, all of them, as synthetic life forms, but they don't seem to classify the EMH programs as life forms.
But they should be, right? Does Dr. Zimmerman not have like a measure of the man type of episode? Like, does that not happen for the EMH in Voyager? Is he not declared a life form at some point, or a sentient at the very,
Yeah, but that's by Federation law, I guess.
So then he would.
The Synthulu thing might not consider it. Might just consider. But the Doctor just a program.
If you remember the first episode of Picard, even if it's in the first episode, even Jean-Luc said that Data was an android, but that term has a different meaning nowadays. So Data was an android. He wasn't technically classified as synthetic life form. He was an android, and then synths are basically appeared in Picard.
Well, it's the terminology that appeared in Picard, because like synth is a very contemporary term that we use nowadays, and so Picard does that. Like modern Star Trek uses contemporary terms. I don't think
life
would have been used.
Life
before.
in general, if we take what we call like what we refer to as a life form, right, is an individual or an individual kind of like that is operating in reality. And so we on Earth, that's a very biological life is everything, right? Like basically everything that's alive. The only things that are not alive on Earth are obviously not alive, like we can pretty much sense what is alive. So you have to be able to sense synthetic life form if you are biological. And I think it's agreed, for me anyways, Data felt like a life form. He didn't feel like just an android. So that's why I would classify him as the first synthetic life form that they had on Star Trek.
Because Vija, though. Because Vija flies off as just a
piece of equipment.
Voyager, what is it? 7? I don't know. 1.
Voyager 1? Voyager 1, I think.
Voyager 1.
Voyager 2?
Voyager something.
Wow.
It flies off being not Vija, and then it comes back as Vija, but it's been modified and enhanced by basically a species of sentient robots or androids or technological things, right?
Right.
Has it just been enhanced? Or does Vija come back?
I would think. I don't. You can't quote me on this 100%. I'm not like super sure, but I do think that like even in the movie, maybe Spock or something refers to Vija as a synthetic life form, or at least to Ilea, who definitely might actually be the first synthetic life form before Data, technically. Now that I think about it again.
Very puzzled by who modified Vija like that, and why.
We haven't met them, but I think there was some clues in the Star Trek novel Vendetta, which I really love, and I'm always encouraging you to read. And they kind of explore that. Oh, I think I have to let my cat out.
That's right. We have repair droids. Mythbusters says we have repair droids in the 6th season of TNG as a synthetic life form. He's talking about. Yeah, well, he's talking about the what are they called? The little Pokemon-looking things.
Exobots.
Yeah, the exocomps.
Exocomps. There you go.
You've disappeared, Captain.
I think he's still there, just hiding behind.
Oh, he's hiding. Yeah, the exocomps. The exocomps become life forms. and Data has this whole thing.
Chris Collins
fights for
coming
their
at
rights.
coming at us with this knowledge of the original series. I love it. And then Gary mentioned the M5 as well. So I guess synthetic life forms can come in many shapes and sizes, is what this is turning out to reveal to us.
I have did a quick Google search, and based on a 2018 article on Medium.com, synthetic life equals made from scratch, and there's a description here. Most synthetic biologists describe biological engineering as a hierarchy, where in parts genes, DNA, are used to build devices, many genes together, which in turns can be used to construct systems, a series of many devices.
Very interesting.
It is. There's a long article. I'm not gonna read it and recite the whole thing. It's just how, putting it out there.
Sean, I said to Sean earlier, we have no actual real synthetic life in everyday, in current reality, and the way in our current times. But do you think, Gary, that synthetic life will be something that we see in our lifetimes?
In a sense, I think definitely. I mean, AI is developing, and what's the name of that android who's once been jokingly said that look, we're gonna take over the world at one point. She's making
I don't know about that.
There's a synthetic android, an artificial intelligence.
There was an artificial intelligence that was very controversial.
Mm-hmm. It's not just what it still is. Still
you
there.
You don't know about this? There was this synthetic. There was like an AI, and they fed the AI plenty of questions and information about the world. And basically, the AI ended up wanting to get rid of Africa and everyone in Africa because it very simply calculated that it was a strain on the world. It's like, that's not how the world works. We're going to help each other get better and improve. We're not just going to take away things.
Oh
so
my God. Did we take a flamethrower to it and burn it? Because I
do hope someone. I hope it's not in storage somewhere, right?
Did we shoot it in a rock to the sun? Because I feel like that's the doom.
It's secretly running all the racist protests in America.
Oh my God,
now.
that would be so crazy. That's such a awful thing to think about. That's a good idea for a Star Trek episode.
What, crazy racists? Or crazy racist
AIs that
it's like that's not. But then it's calculating very coldly, right? It doesn't have the compassion and the empathy that we do.
No. I think
some of us do.
So would you call a life form that is cold? Would Vulcans kind of be that way? Would they do such a thing?
They try. They pretend.
Well, yeah.
They do their best. General Grievous. You guys know General Grievous from Star Wars?
Yes.
Okay, well, Gary doesn't. But essentially, the only thing left from General Grievous is his heart. All of the rest has been replaced by a synthetic body. So he has.
What about his brain? Is his brain?
Yeah, that's my big beef. The only thing left should have been the brain, not the heart. But anyway, the brain has been replaced, but everything has been replaced except the heart.
What I meant by the brain, sorry, I should have said is I guess his essence is in a brain. What makes him him?
They've transferred his consciousness into, I suppose, a synthetic brain. Is he a synthetic life form, or is he just?
Yeah, he's actually like Picard. He's actually just like Picard. He's
except he has 4 lightsabers.
I don't need lightsabers. I have Elnor.
That's very true.
Well, in this case, RoboCop is a synthetic life form, right? Or he's a robot with human.
He's a cyborg. I would say he's a cyborg.
A cyborg.
That's and I guess Grievous would have to fit into that.
That might become racist terminology one day.
What, cyborg?
Yeah, because robot is.
Imagine robots.
Robot
and
means slave.
Cyborgs, and cyborgs are hating on robots.
I never heard that.
Robot means slave.
I've never heard that.
In the original language, where it was conceptualized, the first person that created the word robot, just meant slave, and so you can't call Data a robot.
I grew up calling robots robots.
Robots.
Robots, yeah. I learned from Mr. Rogers and Mr. Mr. Rogers
You know what?
said,
Recently, I know it's totally not Star Trek, but kind of connects to it. Recently, we watched 2 weeks ago The Forbidden Planet from 1950s, Leslie Nielsen. It's it's one of those classic sci-fi movies that
did you say Leslie Nielsen's in that? I didn't
Yeah.
remember. You're absolutely right.
does not look anything like what you expect from Leslie Nielsen, like Frank Drebin and Mr. Magoo and all the other things. And so he's in the movie, but nevertheless, they have Roby the robot, who's
Yes.
who's actually a robot, but is an artificial he's an intelligent robot who can create things, and he was referred to as a robot. So I think maybe the term itself evolves as well with time. So starts out with a robot, and then you get into an android phase, and you're like, oh, now it's evolved so much. Now it's a synthetic life form.
Once you declare something a life form, you have a moral, I think, obligation to then treat that thing better. And I think that's what like is the heart of like it's interesting that you would connect that robot to racism, because that is exactly what happens, is that we think of a robot as not a life form, and therefore we could do whatever we want. Like, oh, I'll just replace my robot, like a toaster, to reference Battlestar Galactica. So that's an interesting.
Like in iRobot,
thing.
they get rid of all the old models and everyone buys the new one.
Oh no, my poor iPhone. Is it a life form? Should I be changing my iPhone every year? Should I wait till my iPhone grows old and dies?
Mythbusters says in Enterprise, in the first season of Enterprise, we have a living plant. Before you
get ahead in, oh, that's behind in the comments. Hold on, what did you say?
Living
Where's
plant.
that?
And I'm
Oh,
trying
that's
to
the
remember.
next comment. I want to acknowledge SC's comment, because Dr. Moriarty is Dr. Moriarty is a friend of this show, and so yes, we do think that Dr. Moriarty is a synthetic life form. All right, here we go.
In Enterprise, I don't remember that. There's a living plant in the Orville, which is voiced by Bruce Willis.
But aren't all plants alive, Sean?
Oh
no, but that's not what I mean. It's like a sentient plant.
Okay.
Hey. That's interesting. What if you bioengineer a new plant? Is that synthetic life?
Yes. I would say so.
So all of the bananas that we eat today, considering they're all basically bioengineered,
are synthetic bananas.
Well, a lot, even a lot of food crops, like just going for wheat, that's modified so much, and even these days they modify it so much as well for being suitable for drought and heat and these sort of things for the future. Yeah, you can see I'm reading too much gardening things, but
you're so educated. We feel we're
getting there.
Swines.
I'm getting there. But it's true. Once you modify the original crop, in a sense, you won't get the same out of it. It's not going to be the original, so it's a modified crop, even though you're using it for the same purpose. Like with wheat, you used it for making bread and flour in way early, and we're using the same thing to do it now, but you have a different method, and you have a combination of all sort of different ingredients in it, let's say. So I guess probably with going for, with a robot, you have a robot, and then you have other features, upgrades, like with your phone, and you essentially get into a higher phase.
I just want to take a moment to say that A, you're absolutely correct, but B, I did not do this on purpose, but right now, Continuum Trek's comment plus the image I have on screen, plus the three of us looking at it, is quite hilarious. And I just want to take a minute to say that
SC is asking if we're mixing up synthetic life with sentient life, which I guess is a fair question.
We're saying that life forms have to be sentient, maybe, but I guess not, I consider plants sentient, by the way, but I don't know if everyone agrees with that. And I don't know if that's I think life by definition has to be sentient. And I think there's all kinds of sentience or intelligence that we don't fully.
I wouldn't consider a plant sentient per se. It just it lives, I suppose, but because it can die, but it's not sentient. That being said, as like I think a plant can be synthetic. I don't know, just weird. It's still organic though, even if you heavily modified it. It's still an organic life form.
What is her response to
Hello,
that?
Continuum.
Yes, Conti. I like saying that. What is the Tin Man? Was engineer. He's a TARDIS, basically, is what I think Tin Man is. But
Gotta plug that Doctor Who.
you, Gary loves it too. Can we talk about
That's
V'ger
your
for?
defense.
Yes. Can we talk about V'ger for a second? So look, in this illustration, to me, it looks very organic. In some of the features here, and the final V'ger does retain some of these kinds of shapes, and definitely this form and stuff like that. And so it is interesting what V'ger is. I love V'ger.
Picard had a replacement heart for years and years, right? Dear goodness.
Supposed to be.
My God. That was for Conti.
That was for
Picard has a replacement heart, but I never considered him synthetic at all, or like an android, or it was just
Right,
sometimes you get upgrades and sometimes you get modifications that can enable you to carry on living.
That goes back to the analogy you started us off with, is like, how many of his parts do you need to replace before
Well, what about
he is
Arium?
synthetic?
Arium's not synthetic life form.
Oh, I don't remember what Arium is, but yeah.
Well, she's not.
She wouldn't. Didn't they describe her character as synthetic life in one of the promotions for that character, like before Discovery came out or something like that?
I don't even know if I would consider Control a synthetic life form, because I don't know if I consider Control.
We're asking the age-old question: what is life? I feel like we don't even know.
I wouldn't consider Control a synthetic life form just because I don't consider Control a life form. Like Control is literally just an AI program that went kind of nuts. And then it was imitating or emulating other life forms. It was like stealing its soul. What's his face? The Section 31 dude. His, appearance and what have you. But I don't know.
It's a tough question. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it myself. We have an update on the plants. Bacteria or viruses aren't sentient. That's so much hippy dippy crap. It is hippy dippy. Yeah. I know. I get.
Because
like
we have to put up with this hippy dippy crap all the time.
Hey man, I feel the vibe.
This is how he reviews.
I feel the vibes.
Hippy dippy.
I do. It's true. Jeez, I'm glad this comic got you to release some of your feelings about how I review Picard.
Turned
Very
into
good.
A roast.
Is Q and clones considered synthetic? I would call Q biological life, from what I can see, but I don't know. Non-corporeal life, actually, that can take on the form of corporeal life.
Clones, as in Star Wars, they're just clones, just generally speaking, not the
such
clone
a good
army.
question. Though Bashir and one is genetically engineered, which is Khan.
I think they're modified.
And Bashir. Yeah,
They're still
are you sure? I thought
Khan
Khan was like a clone or something grown in a lab. That's the
No,
impression I got. No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
He does say,
modified.
"I was born 300 years ago on Earth. I was a prince." So,
oh my God, do you think they grew them? Do you think they grew the genetically engineered people that we see, like Khan and his followers, and
that's what I always
all
thought.
of the other leaders? Do you think they grew them in a lab?
That's what I always thought. That they were.
I don't know. I was under the impression that they existed as people, and then they modified certain one of them. It's kind of like the Captain America serum, where they modified them, enhanced them, and so their personality traits were enhanced with them. So if they had picked someone as charming and as handsome and as heroic as Chris Evans, then we would have had a very good person. But sadly, they choose.
Wow, you're saying that
Sung.
you're saying that based on looks is what makes you a good or bad person. So
no,
that
it just
the
so
fact
happens that he's handsome.
I think that Sung and I think that Khan Noonien Singh is handsome. I think
a lot of people would argue that Ricardo Montalban is even
very handsome.
Cumberbatch as well.
And yeah, they're both very handsome to me. So, but I think you shamed me for liking someone. I forget who it was on this show once, but I just remember the trauma of it because it was someone who.
Who did I shame you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm faking it. I don't know. I might be making up a memory.
You're too emotional.
If one of you recently said Chris Hemsworth is, oh no,
That's
that
me.
That
was in the live. That was in my
I
live
was-
event. I went after
Oh.
Hemsworth.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I was. Well, I felt very attacked.
You didn't even watch it.
I know.
You have
like the
like
one-
spidey
one
senses. You
crossover
can
that never
feel
happened.
me attacking someone that you enjoy.
Erin was covered in prosthetics after her shuttle accident that killed her husband. Ah, that's what it was.
So this was a life support situation, right? They had to save
Just
her
like-
life, and
so it's just like the prosthetic heart for Picard, basically,
yeah.
in a sense.
just like
I do
General
want to.
Grievous.
I do want to do a side note here and say that every Saturday at 2 p.m. we are live on Starfleet Boy, but also every Saturday at 2 p.m. Life Support Live with Larry Nemeczek is live as well.
Oh, we got to change our time.
So I've recently
We can't compete with Larry
This is the
Nemeczek.
third
That's
week
awful.
where I've noticed that
Thanks
they're
for
live
letting me-
at the same time as us.
Oh,
and
we've got to change our
I
time.
now understand that they have the same schedule as us. So this is.
It's like we have to make a YouTube TV guide sort of thing, like
I think every content creator starts. We need to
That's a
start.
great
getting in touch
idea.
and-
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, Larry Nemeczek, to you for impugning on your live streaming time. I know it's a tough world out there, especially for Starfleet Boy, but we don't want to step on your toes for sure. So next time we'll try to do it at 3.
Yeah.
Maybe?
So change your schedule. Come on.
We're gonna change our schedule.
No, not you. Him. God damn it.
Wow. Cyborgs are a combination of synthetic and organic. Correct. I agree.
So in that case, you would call cyborgs the Borgs are cyborgs as well.
Correct.
So they're not
Correct.
synthetic life.
Correct.
All right.
Correct. Don't you remember
What about the
computer in
USS Discovery computer that evolves in the short treks, Calypso? Is that still just an artificial intelligence, or has the computer at that point become a synthetic life form? It can't control the ship, I think. Can it? Yes, it does, because it does all the lighting and the music.
I love that you're answering all your questions live.
I think it is an. I would consider it an AI. I don't think it's a synthetic life.
Okay.
But it's tricky because it's not like someone in
This hippy dippy guy here, I have so much trouble. I'm like, yeah, why can't it be a life form?
You're like everything's a life form, dude.
It has a name. What was its name?
It's all alive,
Zoe?
man.
Was it Zoe, the name of the AI
Zora.
life form? Zora. See, I mean,
I'm not sure.
Zora gave.
You know how much I pay attention when it's discovered.
Hey, it was a short tricks. Come on.
Still,
Aldous Hodge is a great actor.
Yes. I agree.
it says actually it's an AI computer interface,
So
and it's called Zora. There you go.
Picard is the first example that I can recall that's now permanent, where we're going to follow this person's story of someone who died and their consciousness was transferred into a synthetic body. So there's nothing. It's a replacement of the ship in your analogy, but that we're going to follow because we're going to. You have to remember, like,
No,
what are you
he's
talking
not
about?
the first one. He's not the
Who's-
first one.
Who's the first one?
Well, what's his name? The crazy doctor from TNG?
His grandfather, Data's grandfather. I know what you're talking about. I'm saying this is the first character we're gonna follow. Like season 2, we're gonna follow this character
Because
and
that guy died in DS9.
Yeah.
What was his name in season 1, which I watched recently?
There was a madman in TNG. There was a mad dude that transferred his consciousness into an android.
Data's grandfather. Yes, that was
okay. That was Data's
yeah, that
grandfather?
was that episode. Yeah, he takes
Okay.
over Data's. Yeah, exactly. But I forget his name. Dr.
Madman.
Dr. Madman. Not Dr. Mannheim. He was doing the time experiments, the temporal.
No, but you
experiments.
mean as a protagonist? You mean as like a main character? That's what
Right,
I mean.
exactly.
Because even
As
Data, even Data didn't die and come back. He was just originally created as
And
an android.
Rayo Wantika in The Passenger, season 1, episode 9 in DS9. He was kind of, doing the same thing as well, putting his mind into different people's head.
Interesting, but he was doing it in biological, like he was transferring
That was
himself.
like total denial.
The Borg Queen is synthetic. Now, what is the probe in Star Trek IV, the Voyager, the Voyage Home?
I think that probe wasn't alive at all. I think that was just like an automated system that was sent. It was sending waves out there to try and figure out if there's a whale. If there isn't, I don't know what would have happened. It would have eventually just destroyed the planet and left. And if there was a whale, then it's happy and it leaves. I love how, because it's not intelligent enough to notice that there's only two whales for the entire planet. They're like, as soon as they hear the whale song, they're like, oh, it's fine, I'm off. I would do a short treks on that probe and see how many other planets it pissed off, right?
I think
popping up on bloody
or
Kronos.
Destroyed.
Essentially, that would be awesome to have like short track. There's a different series, but then have like 100 episodes in a year.
It's true. I say we get more short treks too. In fact, I haven't read it yet. I'm so sorry, but some of us here should do short treks for people for Star Trek for CBS. I was wondering about this question here because there's actually a thing. So if you become the persona of your social media self, are you still real? Computers today are scanning our social media profiles, and basically an AI is scanning everything you do to try and intelligently give you recommendations for things like products, or to try to predict, just like Siri, we talked about Siri earlier, it's trying to predict what your preferences are, or what you're going to do, so that it can like make your life a little bit easier. And so at some point, it's speculated that you can actually create, like, you can visit people that have passed in the future, people that are growing up completely using social media and posting their whole lives, their diaries. Like some people post like their diaries, their thoughts, like everything online. What's that?
There's a plot of The Orville like that. They find a phone from nowadays, I think.
Oh yeah, exactly that.
Recreate.
That's a great example. Yes. Okay, so exactly that can happen, where you can bring back someone from the dead in a sense, but that won't be the original person. It's definitely like something that happened, like a version of you that's not the original. That's an interesting thing, in my opinion, anyways. But yeah, that could happen. Is that what Picard? Is that what Picard is? Is Picard? Do you guys think Jean-Luc is his consciousness, or do you think that a lot of people are debating this, like Jean-Luc Picard had a death, or do you think that it wasn't a death? It was just like when you go into the hospital and
I think
you get fixed up.
Because I think what would be really fun, this would hurt you so much, by the way, but what would be fun is if in season 2, all of a sudden, like something happens where he can no longer make a decision, or he can no longer, I don't know, like something happens where all of a sudden you realize that the transferred consciousness in Picard has limitations, and he can no longer function as fully as the alive Picard used to. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, he's still limited to like the transfer of data is limited in some fashion, and all of a sudden he has to kind of start grappling with the fact that he's no longer real in a sense.
I don't like that idea, but I do think Patrick Stewart could pull it off. So I'm open to
it because it makes him dead essentially. It turns him into a pale copy of the real Picard that actually died.
Oh
but then that would be great as a character arc for all of the others and his friends. That would like everyone goes on their life like it's Picard's still alive, la-di-da, and then you realize that he's kind of not. Because this new song, Elton song, he doesn't know his shit. Come on.
Wow.
He didn't build the right body.
You dippy hippies, a few Trekkies are gonna answer the question. It's true. Now the probe in Star Trek for the Voyage Home. Oh, we already answered that question. All right. We told in Voyager that species 8472 ships were living. Is that synthetic life? Yeah, I think also the Cylon Raiders are synthetic life forms in Battlestar Galactica.
We don't know how they create. Like, we don't know if they grew them or if they're like their own.
If they're saying it on the show. On the show, if the show explicitly states that it's alive, then I take that for synthetic life form.
Okay, wait a minute. A camel. You can ride a camel. It's not a synthetic life form, right?
No, but it's a life form.
Yeah,
you can ride life forms.
Life form. So it might be the same thing for the.
But if I grow a camel,
ships.
if I grow a camel from scratch, then
Yeah.
I've created a synthetic camel because I've grown it. I didn't use any. If I didn't use any of the original camels,
7 to grow them. Maybe it's like Avatar. They have to go to a.
You guys know more about this than I do.
Maybe they have to go to a certain place and bond.
Oh, and capture them. That's lovely.
Ship, right?
I love the way your mind works. If you believe transporters don't kill you, then Synth JL is alive. That's true. I do think that transporters kill you.
Oh, you're on that front.
I'm on that team. I mean, it's literally destroying your. It's like taking you apart atom by atom, and then storing you in a buffer, and then transporting that information to another buffer, and then rebuilding you. I do think.
So the first time you transport, you become a synthetic life form. Every time.
Star Trek, no one is a real life form.
No,
Oh my god!
That's managed to stay.
That's the season 2 reveal. Jean-Luc lets everyone know that everyone's a synthetic life form.
I think that's one reason to adore Catherine Pulaski not using any transporter, just only like once. Like she knew
So awesome.
stuff.
Boy, Chris is really wanting to know. I love all this. Are the Syllabon in Enterprise considered synthetic life? I don't know. That's a good
Just
question.
enhanced.
They are
See, the thing is,
Yeah.
a synthetic life form.
They're born, right? They're born.
Can you be considered synthetic life form if, like, originally you were not? Like, Picard was born, right? Now he's transferred into this, like, other body. But is he now a synthetic life form, or not?
I think he
Because
is.
he was originally not. He was originally like a real person. Let me be racist a bit. He was a real person, and now he's not.
Okay.
Are there enough synthetic life forms of the same or similar kind to make a race on Capelius?
One Picard is enough to make a species.
Okay, so I'm just kind of thinking, because I think synthetic life and androids and all these jibber jabber whatever
Jibber jabber.
The terminology here.
whatever graciously let us use this term that I follow, hippy dippies. There you go. In my head, I consider synthetic life as an artificial intelligence in a built-up body. So I wouldn't call like an exocomp synthetic life. It's an artificial intelligence in a body of a robot. I think synthetic life is an artificial intelligence in some sort of humanoid form or any other form body that can communicate with people.
But not the exocomp?
At least in my head, because they don't talk to you. I mean, they communicate.
They do. They have the do things. The same way the cybernetic squid at the end of Picard. That's not humanoid, but clearly that's probably alive, right?
Yeah, I think so. I love all your names for that.
Yeah, like, I mean, would you drink a cup of tea with big flowers or with the butterflies? I mean, you do that with Sochi.
I mean, yeah, but that I don't do that with every human either.
I know it's arrogant to say that life has to be as we know it, because it's not. I mean,
Gary formats life to his standards. If you don't drink a cup of tea, you ain't alive.
That's when the eject button will appear soon in the screen, and I'm just gonna be disappearing.
I don't eject anymore,
I'm not
Gary.
Just trying to understand, like, it's synthetic life. It is, because we're talking about a life form that is alive essentially and capable of thinking as a normal sentient being. I'm not talking about humans. It can be Klingon, Betazoid, Ferengi, or Jabba the Hutt. But it's a synthetic. So synthetic artificial intelligence that can think, but it's not natural. Let's put it this way then. not naturally built up, but that can think and communicate with others. I would consider that as a synthetic life form.
I agree, but I do think the exocomps are in that, even if they just float around and kind of do the little beats, right?
I mean, we cannot
do.
talk to dolphins, but dolphins are supposed to be more intelligent than us. So
that's hippy dippy shit right there. The meat from replicators is synthetic. Yes.
Yeah.
The meat itself. We're not saying it's life.
But that's not a synthetic life form, but it's synthetic.
It didn't.
Well, they're growing meat in labs now. Which
that's exactly what I wanted to touch on, because someone asked me, as a vegetarian, that if I would eat the meat that they grow in a petri dish, and
would you?
No.
Oh, interesting.
But see, you don't eat meat. So here's the thing: do you not eat meat because you care for the animals, or do you not eat meat simply because you don't like it?
I care for the animals, and I don't understand. I don't. And again, no issue with whoever likes what. And I always have to say this statement before I get considered like, oh, I'm a hater of meat.
An extremist.
An extremist, yes. No, I respect everyone's food choices. I don't. Personally, I don't think I need to be fed with. I need sacrifice for my plate.
But what if it is grown in a?
But if it's grown in a petri dish, then no animal is. Yeah, exactly. There's no animal.
I know. They explain it to me as very well as well. It's like, imagine just like someone goes into the barn, they get a sample from the chicken. The chicken goes off, and still alive and everything, and 2 hours later you get a piece of chicken breast from the petri dish.
I'm getting hungry. You're making me hungry thinking about it.
And I would eat that because it's meat, but it doesn't come from the chicken, and is the same. I think in a sense it's the same thing as having these old meat-alike vegan things that I less and less consume these days, because someone actually pointed out to me a long time ago that why would you eat the vegan substitute of the meat if you don't want to eat meat? Why do you crave for
that's a bit strange,
or a burger if you don't eat meat? So why would you want to eat the same thing?
I just want to say that sometimes it tastes better because I eat meat. I don't have a problem eating meat, but the vegan chicken nuggets are way tastier than most frozen chicken nuggets.
They're much worse for your health, all of those vegan substitutes, because they're packed with sodium.
So I'm gonna turn into a salt cube.
Basically, they're like 20% salt. Those fake steaks.
Sean, got salt?
You got salt?
Oh, speaking of which,
yes, they do. They have 20% salt.
That was really well done. You didn't do that intentionally.
I didn't.
That was so good.
I steered the conversation to the meat.
To salt.
Yeah, I think lab meat is the solution, because it solves so many issues in the sense that you're no longer killing animals, you no longer have to treat them inhumanely or have these horrible farms. I think it also solves the halal or kosher situation, because there's no more killing. So it doesn't have to be halal or kosher.
Plus, it will affect the climate change as well drastically.
It will also help the climate. Will help the planet on many levels, but of course, it won't make vegans or vegetarians disappear. It's not as if vegans or vegetarians are like a plague.
No, of course
on this land that we need to get rid of. No, like people will still, like you, decide to not eat it if they don't want to because of personal preference.
You might be both. You're both in favor of the rights of living beings, and also just don't like the way meat tastes. I like this follow-up to that, which is, so the reasoning that we came to, which is synthetic meat. So if you replicate and transport, basically if you create a version, a body, which actually, that's what Picard, remember they were describing it like a golem or something? I forget, but that's, Picard's a very advanced cybernetic type of being. It's not just, it's synthetic but biological, just like what Essie's describing here. I mean, if you cut him, he'll bleed. I imagine he has bones. He's supposed to age and die naturally, so that means there's probably cells comprising his organs and skin. So yeah, I think this is what Picard is right here. What
I think he's like the ears that we grow nowadays. You guys know about the ears that we grow on people's arms?
That sounds
Wasn't-
so
wasn't also
crazy.
that Blood mice is back because there was a time when they grew
They
them.
don't- they can. I think they can do it on the back or on the arm or on the leg.
Yeah.
They do it on the back because it doesn't show up as like it.
So if I lose,
doesn't-
if I'm like Van Gogh and I lose my ear, if I cut
Yeah.
my ear off today, right now,
Yeah.
we have the technology to
They
replace my
grow it
ear
back.
with a,
They
and
grow
grow
it back with your own cells on your body. I think they place it on the back so that it doesn't show when you're in public. Because if you got like an ear on your arm, people are going to judge you, right? But they can literally grow back your ear. So maybe that's how they grew Picard's body. Well, they grew
Yeah.
the golem. Well, they grew Picard's appearance maybe around the synthetic golem that's inside.
100%. I think that's what's happening to Jean-Luc. So does that make him? So what makes?
Well, maybe
does
they
that
just
really?
3D printed it.
They could have, but ultimately, so that's what's trippy to me about Picard is that it kind of redefines it's kind of sending me into like a loop of thought here where I'm like, well, then what's the
Hi,
big deal
Picard.
if you're synthetic?
PJ.
Yay, PJ's here. I Picard. We have another question here or statement. If a new evolution of the human form starts sharing this world with us, do you think we would become their prey? It's not. I don't know if it's off topic. I think that's an interesting question.
The topic
That is a
broad.
worry. That is a worry. That's why I was all for us destroying that AI that you said, like needed to, wanted to destroy the entire continent of Africa.
It would refocus racism. Maybe humans would stop fighting, with other humans based on skin color, and they would start being worried more about these.
That is a huge theme in
evolved
science
humans.
fiction. I think of the 4th of July as a great example of this. Is that like for some reason there is this like dark idea that like humans are so terrible that we need something to hate, and so like we would all
We need a
refocus.
common enemy.
But I
common
don't believe
threat.
that. I don't feel that kind of hatred in my heart. So I
Sophia.
don't know. I
Not
don't know
us.
if that's true.
Not
That's
us.
good, Sophia.
We're part of a beautiful Star Trek community, so we only see happiness.
I mean, I do kind of hate Doomcock sometimes.
I forget he exists until someone brings him up.
I give way too much attention. By the way, I learned
How dare
recently
you?
that
How dare you talk about one of those channels? We need to
It's
shout
true.
out everyone else.
I
now.
did.
Irish
I did
Tricky,
recently.
Kit Wolski, Coach
Yes, we
Rats.
did. Actually,
Oh,
I
sorry.
had that saved for the end of the episode, but that's good. Do it now. It's fine. Damn it! You're
Damn it.
breaking the format. I do want to
What
say
format?
also that I learned recently, and I don't know if this is true, but every time you say PewDiePie, an alert notification goes to PewDiePie, and there's a chance that I want him to see Starfleet Boy because
That's bullshit. Who told you that?
That's PDP as well.
that is PewDiePie.
PewDiePie.
If you do it 3
PewDiePie.
times fast, PewDiePie, it's like Beetlejuice.
Oh, he
Beetlejuice.
appears in your bedroom.
He appears. Oh well, it's PewDiePie.
Rufus.
It's not Rufus, it's Felix.
Brofist.
Huh?
What?
That's what PewDiePie does at the end of his videos.
Oh, you're right.
He's the most successful YouTuber of all time, and you don't know
I
what he
heard
does.
Rofist, and I was thinking Brofist, but your accent made it sound like R-O, just like R-O. You left out the
Accents.
B, and I was like, what is he talking about? But you're absolutely right.
I mentioned how people think I'm from South Africa in my live stream, and then someone left a comment later on the video and said, your accent is fine, don't change the way you speak. And then someone replied to that person, which hadn't yet seen the entire live stream. Someone then replied saying, I thought he was a natural English speaker. Like, is he from South Africa? And I thought this is so ironic.
You do have a South African
I don't have
kind
a
of
South
accent.
African accent.
That's the French that turned your French accent turned it into a South African. Your French mixed with your Kiwi. Synthetic. This is the literal definition. Thank you, SC. Which is, I think Gary read this earlier. Made by chemical synthesis, especially to imitate a natural product.
It's made with the goal of imitating. I think. Okay, so that's where you're coming from, Gary. Now I kind of see it. An exocomp is, we could call it, it's like an AI, but is it a synthetic life form in the sense that it's not made to imitate organic life form? An exocomp is just a robotic
machine.
shape. It's like a floating toaster. Whereas
But a
Sojin
good
does.
looking
They were constructed and built to imitate humanoid life forms.
Yeah.
I see.
You answered it.
And also, the crystalline entity we're reminded is referred to as an inorganic life form, or just like we also meet the silicon-based life form in that murder episode. Another shout out to PewDiePie. Maybe the algorithm also picks up text, so thank you, Conti, for doing that. What is the species in the nebula in TNG season 1 episode
Nagilum?
titled Nagilum? I love Nagilum.
But we never
I would
really
say-
got it.
I would say that is an example of non-corporeal life, and I don't know if you could classify it as organic. So I might classify it as inorganic. I like that SC has us talking these techno babble terms. Thank you, SC, for bringing the science in here, reminding us.
Trek on the Tube is one of Musk's illegitimate sons. Oh my goodness! I don't have a weird name. I don't have a funky name with like all X's and AEs and everything.
Someone has to have to enlighten me. What is Musk's?
Elon Musk.
Eon. I almost called him Eon. Elon Musk. Ooh,
Elon Musk.
We have a rainy day here in South
South
Florida.
African genius or just millionaire, visionary. I don't know.
So Trek on the Tube reminded me. So I guess we're going to come to the end of the discussion soon. We've gone on for an hour talking about this, and there's been really no conclusion except that basically
Were you expecting one?
Starfleet Boy is like this.
Were you expecting a conclusion to this question?
I don't know.
The question is not. It's not even what is synthetic life. It's the meaning of synthetic life.
It's too. We can't fit.
We're not good enough for this.
We are. I think no one can answer this question, right? Because we actually don't. Scientifically speaking, we don't even really know what life is at its most. We haven't.
I feel like if we had Michael Chabon on the show, he would have a very articulate, long answer for us.
Well, I think that's a great idea for a Trek Chat invite or a warm blanket invite, maybe, because that would be cool. But he's always invited to this channel. I don't know. I feel like Michael Chabon's too busy. He answered me a couple times on Instagram, which was very generous of him. But he's just a very busy guy. He's starting a new show, which I'm excited about. I don't remember what it's called though. Cavalier and Clay. Duh, I did remember.
Can I add something or ask a question? I'm not even sure if it's going to be a question or a statement, but can the meaning of the synthetic life be simply purpose?
Yes, I think. In the sense that you construct synthetic life for a specific purpose to accomplish a certain goal, you mean?
Because if you think about the Mars attack, I'm not talking about the movie, but the short track, that those scenes had a specific purpose to do that basically humans didn't do, but they obviously created in a way that they've been able to communicate and think on their own. So maybe the meaning of a synthetic life is to serve the purpose.
Is that the meaning of life? Does anyone know what the real meaning of life is? Like, not.
No, I'm not talking about life. Like clever people, ages and thousands of years ago, they weren't able to figure it out, and I don't think anyone will ever know. But in terms of synthetic life, why we would create a synthetic life to serve the purpose, serve our needs, basically, and that's what the scene's been doing in slavery, in a sense, because that's what they were for Starfleet, and that's what TNG and that's what Picard tried to avoid with giving data away to Maddox and then essentially Lal, and then even I think in Voyager it comes back with the EMH as well, with the Generation 1 EMH. It comes back that they've been doing the things that people don't want to do. So creating this artificial life, it doesn't have. We don't know what's the meaning of that because they have a purpose. So
are they constructed out of ego?
Well, I think every situation could be different, because especially in Picard we have examples of synthetic life forms creating other synthetic life forms. So at that
You
point,
have robots building robots.
it all depends. But this is so interesting. We can go on forever. I want to end, I think, on PJ's note only because PJ's a friend of Starfleet Boy A, and so it's nice to have him here virtually. And then second, because he raises the question, wasn't Pinocchio the first tale of a synthetic life longing to be human? And that reminds me of a really great film, not a Star Trek thing, called AI by Steven Spielberg. Originally, Stanley Kubrick was going to direct it. And it deals with this in a very interesting way. And so I like this question because it also ties in, of course, to the very first time we meet Data. And the reference to Pinocchio is made when he tells Riker basically his desire is to be human one day. And so I like that. Now that's very, that's definitely very human centric because, maybe there's synthetic life forms that want to be Andorian or Klingon or Romulan, but we get the idea.
I feel like Data's sick and death and Picard took away from his humanity.
Oh my god! I'm trying to end the podcast, and you have to take it. You have to take it to this.
I have to take it.
You have to take
it to that.
You have to break my heart here and make me have to argue with you about Data.
I'm sorry.
Not just with him. I agree with him too.
Oh my goodness, there you go.
Well, I'm gonna let you guys have the last word on that for now. But maybe we'll create a whole new live stream where we talk about a discussion in itself, right? I do want to promote.
Synthetic
this
meat.
has been a very awesome week for Starfleet Boys. So I just want to thank the audience who's tuned in. I also want to welcome incredible. We have 19 new subscribers to our YouTube channel. So welcome to all of you. If you guys are watching this, that's pretty cool. Like my channel doesn't grow this fast, so that was pretty awesome to see a spike. Of whoever you are, please make yourselves known. I'd love to talk to you and engage with you. And then I also want to say that I have a long overdue plug for appearances on both your podcasts. So if you want more Starfleet Boy, you can go check Starfleet Boy out on Trek on the Tubes Trek Chat, and then you can also check me out on Gary or Trekker Pride's Warm Blanket. I also make an appearance on Trek Lads podcast, Networking on Nimbus 3. So check that out as well. Was there anything I'm forgetting, number one?
I don't think so.
And then, of course, as you were alluding to earlier, shout outs to the Star Trek community, YouTube community that participates in movements like Trek Positive. There's too many to mention, but I'm a huge proponent of that. And of course, the regulars like Ketwalski and Trekkie Rob or the Trek Book Club, and the good old Star Trek YouTube community. Everyone knows who they are. Oh, I can't forget Trek Yards and the Irish Trekkie and
Trek Collector
and Trek
Kurt
Collector.
Ratz.
Yeah, Kurt Ratz. So many channels.
The community has grown a lot.
I know, it's exciting.
In a few years.
But all great content, much better than this content.
Shout out to Trexpertise, which make amazing videos.
Yeah, and actually, I have to give a huge shout out to Trexpertise. And I haven't watched the whole. No, I haven't finished watching the whole Picard thing. I'm very interested in it, but he got me so excited that I felt empowered to share my video. So I want to talk to Trexpertise and find out how you can share video for that length of a time and not get these like annoying flags from CBS. I would love to know how to do that because I'd like to share videos on here. It'd be fun. Anyways, but yeah, go check out Trexpertise as well, which I'm a huge fan of. And then also they do a couple of other podcasts. Like there's one I think where they do Wikipedia articles and stuff like that. So very cool thing. And then of course Junk Ball Media. Got to end on my Junk Ball Media. That's it for today. We'll promote more channels later on. But thank you for joining us on this live stream, everybody.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, yes.
Which is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. We should have.
But not in the UK, right?
Is it?
Yeah, UK as well.
Oh, okay. It's Father's Day all over the world.
So.
Very cool.
No, maybe I don't know.
Not in France, I think.
Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of shout outs, Happy Father's Day to Evan Rocha, one of the members of Asking Linda's. There's so many dads in my life. There's a lot of dads. You're not the only dad, Trek on the Tube.
I'm a daddy.
You are a daddy. It's true.
That's different.